Hi students, my name's Roxanne. I'm the training coordinator for Cert 3, so you'll see me randomly throughout the year if you haven't already. And welcome to your practical assessment session 1. You have 3 practical assessment sessions throughout the year. This is your first one in block 3, and each time you'll get this little information video just to help you prepare, but mainly so you know what you're going to be doing during those days. Looking forward to seeing you. So during your time with us, there are a few things we do need to cover during the practical assessment session. So with this one, you have practical assessments 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll be doing a Care for Young tutorial, which is some really interesting information we want you to know. Your husbandry manual workshop, it's part of your larger project that you'll be doing throughout the entire course, and it links back to a practical assessment later in the year. So we'll run you through all of that information. And any time left, we're going to look at careers. So to help you out with getting work or whatever you're interested specifically in the zookeeping industry. Now with these next slides, you can see which assessments are actually linked to what units. Now, practical assessment 1, 2, and 3, they all link to the 6 units here. So work in a zoological facility, WHS, nutrition, habitats, infection control, and of course, animal health. So instead of doing an assessment for every single one of them, the practical assessments will merge all of those relevant skills together and we'll assess it holistically in one go. Okay, so you're going to do 3 assessments that will actually link to all 6 units here. Now, by now you have completed all of those units. You have to have sat the unit before we can actually assess you. So if you haven't sat any of those units, please make sure you do catch up with your support officer prior to your assessment session. But by now you've done the units, most of them would already have been, assessments will be done, assessments are probably already marked for a lot of them, except maybe the last few, so you already know exactly where you stand and exactly what is involved in those units. So assessment, practical assessment 4 is a little bit different to 1 to 3, but we'll go into that in the next few slides. But assessment 4 will cover your work within a zoo facility, contribute to WHS, and infection control. So again, we do all of these units in the one assessment. And again, you've already done all these units, so you know exactly the information we're going to be covering. So now the important information, what will you actually be doing during your practical assessments? So to put it quite simply, practical assessment 1, 2, and 3 are basically the same. Practical assessment 1 is the largest. We actually drop a few things, so assess a few less things in 2, and again, drop a few things for 3. So some skills have to be done 3 times, some skills twice, some only once. So basically what you're going to be doing is husbandry. So you're going to be doing normal keeping routine for 3 different species, all on the one day. Okay, so 1 in the morning, 1 between morning tea and lunch, and 1 after lunch. Okay, so at your zoo, there'll be 3 designated species. You'll go in and you'll do all the jobs that a keeper normally does. And you can see the list here. So consider yourself a trainee keeper. You're going to go to your 3 different species throughout the day. You're going to complete all the husbandry routine that is appropriate for them. You'll be doing observation, so watching them eat, watching the things they do, watching the things they don't do, which is sometimes just as important, watching how they interact with each other. You'll do a whole lot of documentation, our reporting. You've heard of that in every single unit. We need to write everything down. So you will be doing that and completing all those documents that you've already had practice at completing during your theory lessons. And there'll be some discussions with the trainer, with each other, and also a bit of teamwork involved as well. So we've been running this for a few years in this format now. Feedback is always that students were nervous to start, but when they got into it, they actually forgot they were being assessed. They were just working their job and they actually had a lot of fun doing it. So I know it sounds silly, but be a little bit excited. It is quite a bit of fun. So with these 3 assessments, there's a few things we'll do before, there's a few things we'll do in the exhibit, and then a few things we'll do afterwards. So before, we'll meet up. We'll put all our stuff down, our bags away for the day, grab what we need, water and gloves, and we'll head off ready to meet at the exhibit, meet the keeper at the right time, as we have to stick to the same schedule that the keepers do work under. So when we get to our first species, I'm not going to mention species today because they will differ across the sites. And with zookeeping, you never know what's going to happen. So we have to be very flexible. So we'll book in some species and on the day, maybe it'll be those, maybe it won't be. We'll just take it as it comes. But basically we'll get to our enclosure, we'll spend a bit of time as a group, we'll have a bit of a discussion about WHS factors of working with that animal. What do we already know? What do we gain from reading the procedures? What can we actually see? We'll look for some hazards and just discuss some controls. So something you see that might actually be an issue, how can we fix it? We'll look for infection risk as well, because we do have to keep ourselves safe from the animals. We want to keep the animals safe from us and also from each other. And then we'll also identify the animals in the enclosure, so work out who's who. So that's going to be a challenge for all of us, but we will have a site-specific keeper with us at all times to be able to tell us about those individual animals. And hopefully you'll all learn to tell them apart. So when you do your observation, you know exactly who you're watching and what they're doing. So then it's time to get into the enclosure. First thing we've got to do is work out how we're going to work safely with the animal. So that might mean, like for practical assessment 1, we'll watch a safe shifting routine. So how do you safely move a dangerous or a hazardous animal from point A to point B, which will give us an area to move around safely. Or for example, with assessment 2, it might be actually picking up that animal and physically handling it. So how do we do that safely for us and for the animal? We're going to look at what equipment we're using and necessary PPE. We'll make sure that we use any PPE correctly, including your gloves. You'll have to bring some gloves. We'll make sure that we've read our work procedure and we'll follow it to make sure we have the right cleaning routine. At some point we'll do a little bit of weighing or measuring or body scoring. Again, depends on the species. We'll do that for one of the assessments, practical assessment 2. We'll follow our hygiene protocols. So some of it is really basic, like wash your hands after you do cleaning, wash your hands before you touch their food, clean your boots when you're leaving, that kind of thing. We'll do some maintenance. So that might be doing some weeding. It might be fixing up a gate or some mesh. They might get us to paint something. They might get us to grease some locks. I don't know. Depends on the day, depends on the schedule. They'll give us some jobs to do. Any infection control activities. That also includes things like pest control as well. So making sure that we're not spreading anything. So it might be cleaning off our tools properly, making sure that we clean our boots, making sure we're not bringing tools from one species to another species. So there's no cross-infection risk. We will do some food preparation or enrichment preparation. We'll make sure that all the food is stored properly. We'll make sure everything's cleaned after we use it as well. There will be a treatment. For some animals, we'll actually do the real treatment. For others, we'll do a mock treatment because, you know, our animals don't want to have 9 tablets from 9 different students, for example. So again, it will depend on the species and the day, but you will undertake preparation of a treatment and completing a treatment sheet. We will do enclosure integrity, security and pest control checks. So we'll get you walking the perimeter. We'll get you, you know, checking screws, checking, pushing on fence lines, looking for holes that are being dug underneath them, looking for evidence of a pest species. We might even get you filling up baits or checking live traps. Again, just depends where we are. And of course, the big important thing of being a zookeeper is knowing how to work effectively as a team. So we'll be watching that to make sure you're doing that well. We might give you some tips to make sure that it's as we would deem appropriate. And for all of these things you're going to be doing, you're going to have myself and another trainer just observing. If you need help, we'll get in there and give you some tips and tricks, but otherwise we'll just be observing, making sure you get it right. We'll help you to get it right if you need a little bit of guidance, but by the end of it, we'll have an observation checklist all ticked off with all of your skills completed. All right, so once we've finished inside the animal area, so for example, the exhibit, or it might be a back of house area, again, depending on the day and the species. But once we're done in that animal area, it'll get locked up properly by the keeper. And then we have to clean all our tools and equipment we used, and of course, putting it away, checking it for any damage. We'll refill the food stores. We'll do a bit of a stock take and do a reorder. We're gonna watch the animal. So watch it feeding, so make some observations to put in our records. We'll look at animal behavior, how they're interacting with each other. There might be some grooming, there might be some aggression, there might be some vocalization. We'll look at the diet. So what was the diet we fed out and what can we do to make it more improved? So we'll come up with some ideas and we'll have to, you know, come up with reasons for improving the diet. It might be because you have a better enrichment idea. It might be because something's changed in the exhibit or the availability of a food item. It might be because an animal's growing up and so you have to increase the food. Whatever the reason, we're going to look at a diet and improve it. And then we'll do a workplace inspection. So you might remember one of those from WHS unit. where we have a little template. We look at everything in our environment and we deem whether it needs to be improved or whether it's safe and how we would do that. Okay, so everyone will complete a workplace inspection for that area. That one you only have to do one, just in practical assessment 1. Now don't freak out, you don't have to remember everything I've just told you, because when you go into Accelerate, for each of practical assessment 1, 2 and 3, it'll tell you exactly what you need to submit and what questions you need to answer. So do not worry about that. Some of the paperwork you will be filling out, and all of these things you would have seen in a different unit. So the hazard report form you would have seen in WHS, the submission form. Now, yes, get excited. Everyone is going to collect a fecal sample for submission to the veterinary department. So everyone will come home with their little, no, you're not going to take them home for biosecurity reasons, but you will all have a little pot of poo by the end of the day, and you will complete that form. So you would have looked at them in health. You'll do a works requisition form, which you'll have a look in animal habitats. So you're actually going to have a look at something you want to approve in the exhibit. You'll complete that form. You'll do a treatment sheet for any medical treatment. So it might be a nutritional supplement, or it might be that the animal is on an antibiotic for something. So we will make up that treatment and you will complete the treatment sheet. You will do a food order form, which of course you would have seen in nutrition. So you'll do a stock take of what's there and work out what you need to order. You'll do a daily report, okay, which is our keeper records that all goes into ZIMS. So you complete a record for everything you did in each enclosure or for each species. So you'll have some observations, you'll have some actions you did, you'll note down some behaviours, what you fed, kind of thing, what treatment you gave them. You'll do your workplace inspection form, which I've mentioned from WHS, and of course you'll have your new and improved diet sheet that you'll come up with based on whatever you've decided to change in the diet. Okay, so for some of the assessments you'll do all of them, for others you'll just do a few of them. Again, you don't have to remember specifically, because when you go into Accelerate, in order to upload your evidence, you will see the little packages. So practical assessment 1, document evidence, practical assessment 2, document evidence, and practical assessment 3, document evidence. So they're in little packages and you just complete for each one. Just make sure you get the right animal. So animal or species 1, everything gets done in practical assessment 1 evidence, and so on. So you'll see that as soon as you get into Accelerate, it'll ask you to fill in all those forms and also a daily report for each of them. Okay, as long as you go on to Accelerate, fill in everything you need for practical assessment 1, that is your evidence. Your trainer, myself and the other trainer, we will fill out an observation checklist and that will get uploaded for you as well. Okay, and that's what you submit. And when it comes to us, we will look over it, make sure that you filled in all your films correctly. If it's good, it'll be signed off as satisfactory. We might send it back if there's something on one of the forms you need to address, but otherwise we'll get it completed and then you'll get signed off for your practical assessments. And that's the final skills you need to be signed off for those units as satisfactory. Okay, so for practical assessment 1, 2 and 3, which you'll do on one day, what do you need to bring? Well, gloves is the main thing I want you to bring. Bring your own gloves. Don't buy the thinnest ones you can find, because if we get you to go and pick up a big thistle or a weed, it'll go right through the gloves. But grab, don't spend heaps of money. Just pop to Bunnings, for example, but get some nice strong gloves. And make sure that you do have them with you. Make sure they're clean, so don't go digging around in your backyard without washing them, because we need to remember that infection control, that biosecurity element, to make sure that we're not bringing anything into an animal enclosure. So clean gardening gloves is the main thing I want you to bring, but also a notebook and pen. A small notebook, like one of the little ones you just get from Woolies, are really good because it can fit in your pocket with your pen. Make sure it's secure in your pocket. We don't want to be accidentally dropping and leaving things inside enclosures that animals might be able to get hold of. So something little. You can have your phone with you. We might get you to take photos. It just depends. Again, we'll only take photos of things that we are approved to take photos of. Bring a face mask. Who knows what's going to be happening by the time we get to your prac assessment block. Fingers crossed COVID's not back in full force and we get to go ahead, but just have a face mask in case we are spending time in a small, a more confined area with the group of us. So just have one with you, and then just with your mindset, be willing to participate, be respectful, not just to assessors in your group, but obviously to the animals. But we're going to be working with keepers who one day hopefully you'll really be working with. and make sure that you are listening. Okay, so follow instruction to make sure that you stay safe and everyone else and the animals stay safe, but also to make sure that you get all the activities done. The trainers will be madly, you know, you do this now, you do that now. We'll be allocating jobs, we'll be rotating you around, so you all do a little bit of everything. You're going to have to listen to make sure you hit all of those skills so we can actually mark you as confident. So just be willing to get in there and get the job done. Something else to note, we might be recording you. We will at some point be recording you. It is part of the evidence. No one will see it. Unlikely anyone will see it, but we'll probably take footage, we'll take photos, and that will go into your file as evidence of the task as well. So bear that in mind, that you might end up in some of that footage. What to wear, really basic, just wear your TTR uniform. So your student shirt, you know, don't wear anything too bright, but you know, just your neutral colors, pants or shorts. Make sure you wear appropriate work shoes, so wear your work boots. Make sure they're clean work boots. They haven't been used in any other zoo or farming or any other animal sites, again, for that biosecurity. And depending on what the weather's like, bring the appropriate items. So hats and sunscreen, or a wet weather jacket. Last year during pracs across all the sites, we had the extremes from, you know, I think in Perth we were hitting, you know, high 30-degree days, and then in Dubbo we had the biggest drenching I think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever been that drenched through within such a short amount of time. So either way, whatever the weather is, we go ahead with it, rain, hail or shine. So just make sure that you bring whatever's appropriate for your day. Other things to be aware of, what are you going to expect? When you get there, each day you'll sign an attendance and a declaration sheet, just saying that yes, you understand you are going to be assessed, and at the end of the day you'll sign and say yes, I was assessed. You will get dirty. Like I said, you're taking a fecal sample. You can wear a glove, promise. But you will get dirty, you will get covered in mud. Depending on what the keepers get us to do, we might be doing some shoveling of mulch or substrate. Who knows? It's totally up to them. We just go with the flow. You'll get a pretty good idea of what it's like to be a keeper. We had some pretty tired people by the end of their days last year, so don't have a late night the night before. Come prepared. Act to a high standard. Okay, it is an assessment. This practical assessment 1, 2, 3 day, it is an assessment. The whole day is an assessment. We're going to be watching you. The staff of the zoo will also be watching, so you want to make a good impression. You are going to be helping out, and we don't want to hinder, so we want to do things well. We need it to be acceptable for the keepers. They have a high expectation. We need to live up to that. So making sure you really do put your all in, and we will be watching you. So just remember that your trainers are going to be watching in order to assess you. Okay, so just be aware that, yeah, do what you need to do, hit those skills, and make sure that you give everyone a really good impression of yourself. Simple. It's a zoo, so there are policies and procedures in play. You'll be used to that with all of your units by now. So site protocols and requirements, and they will differ a little bit depending on what site you are being assessed at. So we will be going in areas that the public don't go to, so back of house or behind the scenes areas. So making sure that you are listening to your assessors and to the keepers at all times. Again, we want to keep you safe. Only go into areas where you have someone accompanying you or you've been told to go into. Don't just go wandering off. You know, zoos are really dangerous places, and we don't want anyone to get hurt. It really is that simple. There are going to be parts of the assessment where you'll be in close contact with animal. Don't touch it unless we tell you or instruct you or give you direction on how to touch it. There's only one species that will actively be handling. So just bear that in mind. We're not going in there all touchy-feely with everything. So only do what you're directed to do. Again, safety, safety, safety. Hygiene protocols to keep you safe, to keep everyone else safe. COVID protocols are still a thing. Okay, so we'll be following what's relevant at the time. Like I said, bring a mask. Follow any biosecurity protocols of an area we're going to, especially if we're going into areas with ungulates. Foot and mouth is still an issue, so make sure your boots are clean before you come to the zoo. Even bring them in a bag, put them on when you get on site, take them off at the end of the day, making sure that there is no chance that we're spreading anything around. And of course, being aware of those photos and videos will be taken as evidence. Okay, moving on now to your practical assessment 4. This is going to be a little bit different. It's a simulated activity. So a few things will be done. You'll have a different trainer to take you through this, but you'll have a trainer with you the whole time. So you're going to be doing 2 risk assessments for 2 of the species that you'll do during your prac assessment 1, 2, 3. It's actually prac assessment species 1 and prac assessment 3, but don't worry about it. It'll all be, that info will be given to you on the day. You don't need to remember it. So you'll fill out a risk assessment, which you might remember from WHS. You will also do a simulated emergency drill scenario. So your trainer will give you a scenario. The lions have escaped. There's a fire in the snake house. The lemur's sitting on someone. I don't know. They'll give you a scenario. You will get the documentation for your zoo that you're at, and then you will be given a random role. We're not going to let you pick them. Some will be harder than others, like if you're an emergency coordinator or a senior keeper. You'll be given a random role. You will have time to have a look at what that means. What kind of job do you need to do? You can talk through it with your group, come up with a plan, and then we're going to assess you on it. So you're actually going to simulate the drill, which is exactly what we do as keepers. This is no different to how we really do it. We pretend it's happening. We go through the motions. We talk on the radio, and we come to a conclusion. Hopefully everyone's safe, and hopefully the animal's back in the enclosure. That didn't happen every time last year. Unfortunately, we did have a few animals that didn't make it. I think we actually had a person at one site that didn't make it, which is not ideal. But you are going to run through the motions as if it's really an animal has really escaped, for example, and come to the conclusion. And then you'll have a meeting about it, a workplace meeting about what happened, which is your debrief, okay? And from that meeting, you'll all play a role in that. You'll all add your 5 cents in, and you'll actually come up with meeting minutes, which are part of the evidence that you'll be giving in for the assessment. So you'll give in evidence again, but you'll also be assessed with the trainer listening and watching what's going on as part of that drill and part of that meeting. So more specifically, you will do those 2 risk assessments, okay? So specifically on an infection risk, so biosecurity-wise or biohazard-wise. So for species 1 and for species 3, of course, by then we'll tell you what the species are. You'll have a bit of time to have a look at and talk as a group about what infection risks there may be. What can you catch? How might that happen? And then what can you do to improve it? And you'll fill out 2 risk assessments, which you'll remember from the WHS unit. And then you'll go on to do your emergency drill simulation. So you'll be given a event that's happened. You'll be given a role. You'll then play an active role based on the role you've been given. You'll follow the emergency protocols that are specific to that site that you're at. And you need to show an awareness of your role and your responsibilities during that simulation. And then after that drill's done, as part of your debriefing, you're going to have your WHS meeting. Okay, so this is your agenda. Again, we'll give it to you on the day. You don't have to remember it from now. But just so you know what's happening, you'll talk about specifically what each of your roles were. So, what happened? What did you do? You will have the debrief, what happened? What were the success or failures in either communication or action? So what could you have done better? And that will come with your learning. So recommendations and suggestions going forward. And then you'll come up with a plan for your next emergency drill as well. So everyone will get involved in this, and everyone will take meeting minutes in order to submit as part of your evidence. And again, during this meeting, you're being observed again the whole time, and the trainer will be doing an observation checklist, which will get uploaded for you as well. So the evidence you'll be submitting for practical assessment 4, you'll have your risk assessment for one species, you'll have your risk assessment for the other species, you'll have your written meeting minutes, and all of these are packaged together in practical assessment 4 document evidence, which you can download off Accelerate, complete it, and then upload it into the right assessment. Okay, really easy. And then if you get all of that right, correct, and your observation checklist is completed by your trainer and signed off, then it means that you're going to be satisfactory for the units that this relates to. So WHS, work in a zoo facility, and compliant infection control. Now, on one of the days in the afternoon, you actually, after your practice assessment 4, it's on the same day, you're going to be getting a little tutorial on care for young animals. So this is not assessable. There are no assessments involved in this. This is purely because it's an area of the industry that we don't do at every zoo all the time. We don't do it often. You may not always get to be involved in it, but we still think that it is quite an important skill for people to have. So we would like you to learn it anyway, but it is more for fun. So it's interesting. Your trainer will take you through the topics you can see there, suitable environments, parent reared, the great debate to save or not to save. Maybe you guys will have a little bit of discussion on that. How we hand rear different animals, mammals, birds, reptiles, how we record the information, weaning and release, and of course the WHS involved. So no assessments. There is a workshop guide, so you have a whole lot of package of information you can take home with you, as well as what you actually learn in the face-to-face session with your trainer. So it is an interesting one. If you're into any kind of wildlife release or any of the wildlife care groups, maybe you already do a bit of hand raising, if a possum or something comes in, it'll be super interesting. Or you might find it that interesting that you go and get involved with some of those groups outside of the zoo. Either way, it's a great skill, and even though it's not one of our core units at the moment, we're not actually teaching it as a unit. It is a unit, but we're not teaching it as part of our packaging at this point in time. We still want you to know about it, so that's why we're going to give you a couple of hours learning about it during our assessment week, and we hope you enjoy it. So for this assessment day, where you have your practical assessment 4 in the morning and you have your Care for Young tutorial in the afternoon, again, just, be willing to participate, get involved, bring your laptop, because you can actually view some of it on your laptop. You can even complete some of your assessments as you go directly. Notepad and pen is always good to make some notes. And again, bring a face mask because we just don't know. So bring one anyway. All right, then on your third day, you have a few more things to go through. And the biggest chunk of the day is going to be looking at husbandry manuals. So you're going to have a seminar or a workshop on how to write a husbandry manual. So we'll give you a bit of a lesson. The trainer will give you a lesson on this. And then that will lead you into your project, which is part of your assessment for this unit. Everyone is going to be given an animal, or possibly you've already been given an animal, depending on what site you're at. So you'll have your animal, and that's what you're going to complete your assessment on. Okay, it links back to a practical assessment you'll do in the last block, where you'll do a little presentation, and you'll also, at the end of it, produce an actual husbandry manual. So that husbandry manual, we want it to be pretty good, okay, because we're going to be sharing it with the zoo you're at. So it is one of the ways that we can actually give back and say, hey, we've done all this, work at your zoo during the year. We've had the benefit of being in the grounds. We've had keepers come and talk to us. We've had guest speakers. We've got to do behind the scenes. And here's something that we have produced that hopefully you can actually use on section as well. So we do want them to be good because, again, it's going back to the zoo, who at some point you may actually be in paid employment with. So we want you to put a bit of effort into them. But of course, during this first session, we'll tell you all about husbandry manuals. There is a workshop guide you can download. So the session itself is not accessible. There's no assessment linked to this session. It's just that practical assessment outcome, which is your actual manual that you'll produce, and you'll do a talk about it. Okay, so online you've got a workshop guide with all the information about how you write a husbandry manual, and you've also got the template that you will be using to write your manual for the animal that you've been allocated. Okay, so you get a lot more information during the session. This is the first session. You'll get a second session later on in the year as well, or a check-in with a trainer to help you out with any information you still haven't found or any questions you have. So that's later, but for now, we'll just get you started with what is a manual and what you need to do. And then to finish off that third day, we also want to have a little bit of a career seminar. Some of you are already working in the zoo, some of you want to work in the zoo, some of you want to work in other animal industries. But either way, we thought it'd be good to give you a bit of a background on what that all means. So we've got some information on what are the kind of careers you have in a zoo environment. We will see on the day if we can get some information from the HR department at your site. We'll try and get a keeper to come and talk to you, because keepers have really different stories when it comes to how they got their job. Your trainers can also tell you about, they're all very different with how they've got their job. Same with me. So we'll give you how, we ended up being keepers. And it might give you some ideas, and it might sort of put you in a different direction. And then if we have time, we'll do a bit of resume writing skills and also some interview skills if we have time. We'll just see how we go. If we don't have time, we'll give it to you later in another session. But because you will have a few, hopefully someone coming to talk to you, make sure if you have any questions about the industry, bring them with you. So any of those hard-hitting questions you've always wanted to know about getting a job in the zoo, or different types of jobs in the zoo, make sure you do bring those questions with you. Again, this is just for interest information. We think it's good for you to know. There are no assessments attached to this. It is purely just of benefit and interest. So for that third day, again, be willing, bring your laptop, notepad and pen, and of course that face mask. So same. So those last 2 days I mentioned are actually in the classroom. Now, so we've sort of got the 3 days. You may not do them, everyone will do them in different order, so bear that in mind, but we'll give you a schedule to follow. All right, so here is your particular plan for Dubbo. As you can see there, you're coming 4 out of the 5 designated days, depending on which group you're in. So we've got 3 groups, just a third of the class each day. Check which group you're in. Your name should be on the slide now, and see which time you are coming on that day. As you can see, sometimes you'll come at 7:30 and another day you'll come at 8. Just make sure you are turning up on that correct day. Okay, so we're kicking off on Monday the 5th through to Friday the 9th of May. Between Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, you will attend 2 of the 3 days, and then everyone is there Thursday and everyone is there Friday. Friday is a normal theory unit like you've had in block 1 and 2, no different. You do need to be there for that. You do need to be there for your 4 days. Okay, make sure you come at the correct time. If you're meant to be there at 7:30 and you turn up at 8, you will have already missed some of the accessible criteria. That will be a problem. So make sure you check your group, what you're doing that day, what time you're turning up, and I will see you there. If you have a problem with any of this, if you don't see your name, please make sure you contact myself or Maddie and we will sort that out for you. Okay, I think that's all the information you need to know. I would like you to read the student instructions before you turn up. I will have copies on the day, but they are on Accelerate for you to check out. So there's 2 documents, Prac Assessment 1 to 3 and Prac Assessment 4. So make sure you look over those in Accelerate resources. If you have any questions about the dates, what you're doing, your groups, times, whatever, any questions, grab your wonderful support officer, Maddie, her email, or you can see my emails on the screen now as well. You're welcome to contact me too. Otherwise, have a wonderful Easter and we will see you there.